Subscribe and click the notification bell to stay updated with the latest videos from School of Technology, Management and Engineering, NMIMS Indore.
Warm greetings to everyone present here. I, Paragi Chauhan, on behalf of NMIMS School of Technology, Management and Engineering Family Indore, welcomes you all to the third season of Sunday Tech Series. As we know, knowledge has a beginning but no end. So here we begin with today's session of Sunday Tech Series. With the idea of sharing knowledge and explaining how to implement it, the students of NMIMS Indore came up with the idea of hosting a series of webinars introduced as Sunday Tech Series in the month of June 2020. The series consisted of webinars conducted every Sunday on different tech-related topics and programming languages. These webinars were open to students interested in building their career in IT, management, etc. We are here today to start our fourth session of this season of the Sunday Tech Series, inspired by the enormous success of the prior two seasons, which drew over 1,000 participants from all around the world. Before we move ahead, I would like to explain the flow of the event. At the beginning, we will have a question and answer session with Mr. Ashish Rajak, our industry expert for today. Following this, we will be having a webinar on hands-on designing with UI/UX. I request everyone to keep in mind that after the session, a feedback link will be shared in the chat box. Attendees are requested to fill it as certificates will be provided on the basis of submission of these forms only. Today, we have with us Mr. Ashish Rajak, who is an experienced designer with a demonstrated history of working in animation industry. He is currently working at Walkover and has a prior experience of working in product-based companies such as Oracle and Explorite Technologies Private Limited. He has done his bachelor's in multimedia from Punjab Technical University. He believes empathy with users, deep sights into problems, and core business needs are the keys to a successful product. He is skilled in both software and design. He has more than 8 years of working experience in design industry. We feel privileged to have you today with us, sir. I would now request Niharika Avasthi and Priyanshi Jain for further proceedings.
Good evening, everyone. User interface and user experience are two words that you might hear mentioned frequently in tech circles.
UI and UX are two distinct facets of web design, yet they work hand in hand. While UI focuses on your design interface and how a user interacts with it, UX emphasizes a user's experience as they use your product or service.
A very warm welcome to the fourth session of Sunday Tech Series. We would like to thank you for joining today's Q&A session, where we'll get to know your views and valuable opinions on some important questions commonly asked by students.
Firstly, we would like to ask, how are you, sir?
Hey, hello everyone. My name is Ashish Rajak, and I'm really, it's really a pleasure that you have invited me in this event, right? So I want to thank everyone that I'm a part of this, session. Thank you so much. I'm good, and how are you guys?
We are very fine, sir. That's great to hear. So, without any further ado, shall we start with the question answer session?
Yes, perfect. We can do.
Also, in the meanwhile, you guys can put your questions in the chat box.
Yeah.
Let's begin with the first question, sir. You have been working as a UI UX designer for over 8 years. We will be glad to know about your experience.
So I'll say my experience in as a UI and a UX designer is was quite fantastic, I will say. So earlier when I was in my college, so actually I have done the degree which is called design in multimedia, and in that multimedia you learn all the aspect of designing and video editing, right, and 3D animation and everything. So I was mainly involved in designing, graphic designing and animation. So when I joined my first company, so that I joined as a part-time animator in Indore only. It is a walkover, right? So I joined that company and I started as an animator, and that was part-time. Then slowly I completed my degree here in my college, and I joined then walkover full time. And there, then I study, gradually started, working as a UI and UX designer. And there are a lot of products in Walkover. So it's a product based company, and it's a startup. That time it was a startup because it was, quite new company. So I have started working in, some of its leading product like MSG91 and Git. So MSG91 is a cloud communication platform, and Git is a online accounting software. So I worked, started working there. So I got to know about, the user problems actually, exactly, what we are building for, who are the user, and for whom we have to actually, build we have to solve the problems, right? So, getting involved into, user problems, and coming up with, problem solving ideas, that really kicked me. And I was like, that yes, I am now, doing, something, really good, and, contributing to the society in that. Because in that thing, we are actually, providing the solution to the real user who are, out there, to looking for a solution, right? So then gradually, I came to Bangalore. Then in Bangalore also, I have joined two companies, Oracle and Expert, right? There also, it was quite challenging, I'll say, because the product was quite interesting, and the environment was quite challenging. And I have met, a lot of designers there. Team was there, right? I have worked in team, and that was quite interesting. Now again, I'm with Vancouver, and yes, I'm now a product designer, and it has been 8.5 years working for the same, for products and UI UX.
Well, knowing your user is really important, and this was really great to know. And experience does make a person better with time. I will also like to ask that please tell us about any new technologies that you have currently been using in your company.
So I'll say I work as a product designer. So the UI and UX come into the picture, in the entire product design. So currently, if you ask about the technologies, I'll say the Figma tool is there. One tool is there, so that is, quite in trend, I'll say, currently. So I use that tool for UI and UX. So Figma is evolving too much. That all the aspect of, UI and UX design you can do in one place. Like you can do research, you can manage your entire product there, right? Entire project there in Figma, and you can do a lot of things in Figma. So that is the, I'll say, one of the tool that is kind of software tool, I'll say, right? And there are a lot of tools which are, you use for UX, creating UX, right? Again, like a Miro is there for creating flows, for managing your user studies, right? And interviews, what you have come up with, right? So a lot of tools are there, like you can use to, to make your UX and UI design, the process very easy. So you can manage it very well there.
This sounds very fascinating, sir. So, the next question for you is, could you please give a spotlight on future career opportunities in the field of UI UX?
Yes, sir. So I'll say UI and UX, it's evolving too much in the industry, because earlier when you see, 10 years back, yeah, the UI and UX was not literally, evolving their products and their solution for the users. So they are looking for, so what exactly happened earlier, that people were, the companies were, only creating the software, whichever, was coming coming their mind, right? They were creating the solution which has in their mind. But now people are, the companies are thinking about the users, right? That we are not the real user, we are the creator, right? But the real user is someone else. And to study those real users, right, we need to have some kind of team, and that is the team of UX. So I'll say yes, companies are evolving, and the scope is too much there. And if if you search for the UI and UX profile in LinkedIn or any job portal, you will see a lot of openings there. So yes, scope is there, and it is quite interesting, I'll say. The field is quite interesting in UI and UX.
I hope this would have given more clarity to the audience who are planning a future in this field. Okay, let's move ahead to our next question.
Mhm.
According to you, why has UI UX become a vital need for so many organizations?
So same I said, that UX is something, it talks about the users, right? Whoever the coming for the, some who are coming to your software, to your website, to complete their goal, right? So it has made I will say quite a interesting thing for the companies as well, because companies are literally there, to solve the problem for users, right? That is only for users. So earlier, as I said earlier, just few minutes ago, that company, whatever was coming in the mind of the company's executives, right? They were creating that thing, right, first. But now whoever the company, whatever the companies are there creating products, right? They are first of all, coming up with a lot of research of users, whether this particular product will run in market or not, right? So there nothing to do with the nothing to do with their personal things, right? So that is all about users. So I'll say, and UX is the kind of tool, which which I will not say 100% guarantee, but it can increase some kind of lead generation in your product, right? It can really enhance the revenue of company, right? And it can really solve the real problem of the users. So I'll say, yeah, the need is really there for the companies, and they are literally looking for the that kind of a team in the companies.
That is very true, sir. We now understand how important this is.
Sir, I'm sure many of us are curious to know that during your college days, how did you identify that UI UX is a domain onto which you want to focus to make such a great future?
Yes, so to be honest, as I told, right, so I have completed my my graduation 10 years back. So at that time, UI UX was not in that, that was craze. So I started so I haven't decided this in my college. I decided when I joined my first company. So in my company, they have hired me as an animator, and I had work for animation. I have done work for I have done a lot of animation work in for the first year when I was working as a part time. But after that, I got to know that this company has a lot of UI UX work and less of animation work. And when I got to know that UX is something, where you solve a real problem. And I will say, if if some people have that kind of a passion, that solving problems for the society, doing something for society, right? And I'll say contributing for something for society, right? That kind of passion, right, was in my, I thought that that kind of a thing is inside me, and I should go for that. And when I deep dived in this UX journey, right? So I got to know about users, right? I talked to them, right? And I saw that there are a lot of problems in the in the industry that which need to be solved properly in a proper proper design, right? So at that time, I got to know that that is the field where I should move on, and I should build my career for.
Okay, so next question we have is from Ashish Sharma. She would like to know that what is some basic knowledge that one needs to excel in the field of UI UX?
So I'll say exactly, UX is the vast I'll say the field, and UI comes under the UX, I will say, right? So for the UX, what exactly that is the study of the users, right? You study your users when you when you uh, solve their problem, right? So the very first thing is I'll say the communication, because when you go out research for the users, right, you talk to them, right? And talking makes a lots of opportunity to come up with lots of pain points of users, and the you get a lot of insight. You learn about the behavior of the users, right? So there you understand that what exactly UX can do, right? So I'll say the communication is vital there, because you cannot be introvert if you say yourself a UX design, right? You have to be extrovert. But again, you should not be very straightforward. UX is kind of some I'll say the designers who are the UX designers, right? they should be very down to earth, right? They should they should connect to the users very very friendly. It should not feel like that you are interviewing them, and you are asking asking question forcefully, right? Otherwise you will not get the actual answers, right? So I'll say the communication is the must there, right? And the tools are, and then again after the communication, getting involved into users, right? Asking the question to people, right? And talking to a lot of people, that is vital. That is kind of soft communication, soft skill. For hard skill, I'll say there are a lot of tools, right? You can learn about. Figma is one of them. So I'll say Figma is very latest tool also, and it has a lot of a scope of learning new things. So I'd say Figma is there, so you can learn about Figma as well. Figma and the communication I said about the soft skills.
Okay, so we have a question from the audience by Saloni Nahak that what is the roadmap to become a skillful UI UX designer, and how many months will it take to become an intermediate level UI UX designer if dedicated properly?
So if you talk about roadmap, right? So I'll say first of all, if you think that you have seen some kind of issues around you, right, in your society, and you think that you can solve in a such a way that it will be later very very good, right? So if you have that kind of problem solving thinking in your mind, that you can do so you can whatever the issues around us, I can solve it in a very efficient way. So I'll say that is the kick that you should be, you can become a UI and UX designer. So for that, I'll say if you have if you are already in a college, right, who talk about who teach about UX and UI, right, that is really good. But again, if you are not from from that college who don't have the UI and UX courses, right, then you can go for the online courses, and there are a lot of materials online. I'll be sharing some of the help guides at the end of the session, so you can guys share around with you. So I'll say you can go with those kind of online courses. You can learn about them, right? And after that, there are a lot of books. So what actually happens, UX is not like something you read it theoretically and then you are applying it, right? So that is something you should practice. So in practice, if you have a personal project you want to work for, you can always work for that particular project. If you don't have, so there are a lot of there are a lot of I'll say education companies who offer for the boot camps, where where they charge something, and when you go there, they ask you to come as a team and complete a project, complete an entire UI and UX project, and where they will teach everything of UI and UX in practice. So I'll say practical thing is too much there, right, in the UI UX. It's not about theory. Theory is good because you should learn about it, that how to use the UI UX, but the practical is must. So I'll say you should practice about the UI UX, and there are a lot of boot camps around the online courses. You should join that also.
Our next question is, what is the scope of UI UX for students in the future, and how can one prepare themselves to be ready for the industry?
So as I told, that the scope is quite vast, because even if you search for just one keyword UI or UX, you will see hundred of jobs, even in India, right? So scope is too much there. If you want to prepare yourself, I'll say, as I told, you should go through a lot of online courses. You should learn about those things. You should learn who's the father of UI UX, and what exactly they think about the UX, right? And there are a lot of books which is very helpful. I'll be sharing both those books name as well. And after that, if you yes, the portfolio is very very important. You should, if you are, let's say, if you're taking some kind of a particular project, you should create a portfolio, a proper case study for that. Case study is like something like that, how you started this particular project, what was the research behind it, and what was the pain points of users, right? And what was the what solution you have applied to complete it, right? So you should be coming up with that particular case studies. And if you are if you are creating your case studies, right, and the portfolio is very strong, then you can go for the for the job hunting, and you will definitely get a uh, uh, good opportunity there. So but I'll say the must is the portfolio. So if you are becoming a UI designer, if you want to become a UI designer, then the graphic things, right, creating graphics and coming up with a lot of mock-ups of web design, UI design, you should have that portfolio. And if you are if you want to become a UX designer, then you should have a proper research study of particular project, that how you have studied the users, right, how you came up with the proper pain points of them, and what was the solution you have applied for, right? So that kind of case study you should create, and then you should apply for the proper industries, and that will be easy for you to, because companies nowadays ask for your case studies only, right? What exactly you have done, right, and how you have done. So they ask for case studies and exactly the process, what process you have followed to come up with this particular solution. So that is must, I'll say. That is without case studies, company will not entertain you. So I'll say case studies should be there, and portfolio.
Moving ahead, the next question we have is from Paragi Chauhan. Sir, you have worked with such great organizations in the past. If you're given an assignment and you have to design it from scratch, so where do you get your inspiration from?
Yeah, so as my bio also said, that the deep insight about the users, right, and the problem is the key to making a difference, right? So I'll say UX is the right, user experience design is some kind of field where you have to learn about all the other fields, because just like finance and marketing, UX is also evolving to the companies, and it is coming under all the sectors, like if we it will be it kind of finance sector, education sector, right, and shipping sector, whatever is there, right? So UX is something, when you come up, when you get a project, right, you have to understand it very well. So let's say if that is something totally different from your from your area of interest, you have to go deep inside it, right? You have to learn about it, what exactly the project about, right? Because if you don't know about some kind of project, right, then you won't be able to solve problem for that, right? So let's say if there is some new technology, let's say if there is some NFC technology, like blockchain is there, AI or machine learning kind of technology is there, right? Then you have to learn everything about it. If there, let's say if there is kind of banking sector, and there is some kind of finance sector, then you have to deep dive into that particular sector. You have to learn about it. Then only you will come up with a proper solution in that particular industry. So what was the question again?
So the question was that if you have to start a project from scratch.
Mhm. So assignment, right? If you got an assignment of I'll say you'll have to deep dive into that particular assignment, right? What it exactly it is about, and then you have to learn about the users of it, right? Because all users are always not the same, right? So you have to learn about the users, right? And if you asking that where I do get the inspiration from, so I get inspiration from a lot of design forums are there outside, right? So I mainly see a lot of case studies are there, right? And I see that if this particular project which I'm working is resembles to some other project, right, and how exactly that particular product is doing, right? So I take inspiration from that, right? I take inspiration from online materials, which is Behance and Dribble, right, for the UI design. And for UX design, I'll say I study the users of a particular target, and then I start my particular project and work on it.
That was quite motivating, sir. Moving on to the next question. Is it necessary to be a skilled UI UX designer to get a job, or basic front-end coding skills could also help?
Okay. Front end development is a different thing, and UI UX is a different thing. So if you asking about UI and UX, then yes, I'll say you should be, not too much skilled, but you should have some knowledge about, the users, right? How you should study the users, what are the research methods, right? What is the wireframe, what is the information architecture for the UI UX I'm talking about, right? So especially for UX, so you should know about, how to research how to how to come up with the research materials of about your users. And for the UI, the graphics is very important, where you learn about typography, colors, right? And tools is very important for UI, right? UX you can do in a pen or paper, because ultimately at the end a UX designer delivers our research data to the to the team, right? And UI designers is someone who create designs into into the computer, right? And he comes up with a lot of color choices, font choices, right? And the illustration and icon choices, right? That is for UI and UX. For front end coding, if you were saying, if you are a front end developer, then yes, you should have some knowledge of UI UX, because these two people, right? The UI UX designer and front end developer, they work very closely. And if you don't have each other's knowledge, right? If you are a UI UX, if you don't have front end development knowledge, and if you're a front end development, you don't have UI UX knowledge, then it creates a lot of problem between the when you communicate with them, right? So yes, you should have some knowledge of here and there, right? And then yes, you should apply for a job, and yes, you will get some better opportunities.
That could be really helpful for the beginners. So moving ahead, the next question we have is, could you throw some light on your work in product design?
Yes, so I have worked, so I have all the companies I have worked, right? Those all were product based only. And very recent product I have worked is that MSG91, which is again a cloud communication platform. So what exactly that product do? That let's say if someone is starting business, right, and he is getting a lot of users in that particular business, and if he wants to communicate with those users, right, whether he wants to give them some kind of offer, he wants to welcome them, right, he wants to show them something new about their product, right? So that communication is what what MSG91 provides. So MSG91 provides all the bulk SMS, bulk emails, right, calls, and WhatsApp and RCS and SMSs and voice SMS as well. So you must have get you must be getting lot of companies SMS, right? That is the what MSG91 do. So right, so that is the cloud communication platform which I'm working currently. And there was when I was in Bangalore, so there was a product, it is called Expedite Technology Private Limited. So it was a portable device, it calls head-up display. So when you put that particular device onto the car dashboard, and when you see through it, you see a virtual image of a virtual screen, right, which is connected to your phone, and it shows relevant information. So that was mainly for avoiding the distracted driving. So let's say people drives, right, and some calls comes in, they checks their phone, and something terrible can happen in the road, right? So to avoid that kind of distracted driving, right, we have created that product. It's called a head-up display, and that was mainly connected with your phone by a Bluetooth, and whatever the it's just like it just work like the smartwatch. Whatever calls you are having, right, you can see in your smartwatch as well, right? So that device was worked the same, that it was in the eyesight of the driver. So like when the driver is driving, he can see who's calling, who have give you the text message or email or some kind of notification, and then you can reply on them, right, without seeing to your phone or here and there. You can focus on your driving, and this is how you can communicate with your friends and families by call. So these products I have worked on.
That's really amazing, sir. So the next question we have is from Gaurav Agrawal. He would like to know that the difference between UI and UX and how it is different from graphic designing.
So I'll say UX, UI is the part of UX. So UI is user interface, right? Mainly the full form of it, and user experience is like the entire experience, right? So if you talk about user experience, so I'll just give you now very common example of it. If you go to some government office, right, and what is the process of that particular office, and if you go some private office, and what is the process of that particular private office. uh, I'll give you an example that I just went to one private bank, and I asked them that I want to change my address, right, the mailing address, right. They have provided me a link, and I was able to change that the address in like 1 or 2 minutes. Like the same if you do in a government office, first of all they will tell you that you please come tomorrow, we will do this come tomorrow, right. So that is kind of the experience, right, you get and the today and nowadays life. So UX is kind of the entire whatever the product you have created, right, the entire experience of that. Just like told you about, let's say I had only one goal, that I want to change my address of the bank, right. I went there, and they have provided a link, and I was able to do it in 2 minutes, and right. And the same product with the same company, I went there, and they first told me that you come tomorrow. Then the second day I went, they have provided me the entire form, you fill it, and we will do it next 7 days of working. So that kind of experience comes up when right, when you design as a UI and UX. UI is completely about user interface, that how the interface is designed, right. When user is coming to complete a goal, how user friendly is it, how usable is it, right, whether he is able to understand the entire interface or not, right, whether he is able to get the proper feedback from the system or not, right. That is about all the UI. So UI, I'll say UI, you can see it, right. UI, like what exactly you are seeing in your screen, that is completely UI, that is interface. Let's say I want to mute myself, I'll just go there and click on mute, right. That is the user interface. But let's say I want to mute myself, and that particular mute button is hidden somewhere else, right, that I am searching for it, like like for quite long. Then that is not the experience, right. So experience is something that is invisible, but UI is something that is visible. But UI is again, the UX is quite vast part, and UI is the part of it. So that is the UI and UX. And graphic design is kind of something totally something is which is totally artistic. Graphic designer, what exactly they do, they convey the message with the proper with the form of illustration and graphics, with colors and typography, right. The message is if conveyed if the message conveyed very easily, that is then your graphic design is successful, right. And then comes the art. Art is totally different, the drawing is totally different, because there you don't think about the user, right. Whatever comes in the artist mind, they just put it in the painting form. And you have to you have to then understand about that art, what it exactly it is saying. So I'll say arts are not graphic design or UI UX, but graphics is something that if you want to convey something to the users, then it should convey in a very very proper manner, and very easily it should convey the idea of your message.
That was it's really interesting to know, sir. The next question we have is from the audience, from Saloni Nahak. She's asking that when working for a project, if you have a deadline hanging on your head, what would be your first priority? Completing the project as soon as possible and submitting, or even if it's a little late, but you have to prioritize the quality of your work.
Yes, so actually that kind of situations comes when you work, right? So the same situation came for me, when I was working with a expert technology student, where I designed the head-up display, right? So if things are dependent, from the business side, that let's say that if you want to prioritize the quality of work, but that is not meeting the business need, then I'll say at that time you should complete your project first, right? Once the business need is met, then you should in next version, I'll say in next version you can come up with quality of products, because if the business not is not there, then the entire company is not there, and then your job is also is not there, right? So if the so lot of things comes, right? If let's say business needs is not too much there, the deadline is not too much for business needs, then I think you should definitely go for the quality work, because if you are not giving the quality work, then people is not going to use your product, right? But if there's some kind of business needs, then I'll say whatever comes as whatever your experience says, right? Whatever your expertise says, based on that you create that product completely, right? And then launch it. And once it met the business need, then you have a lot of time, then you can work on its user perspectives, right? You can go for search, and then you can work as a work for its quality thing.
The next question we have is from Akriti Kedia. She's asking that would you suggest UI UX as a course is beneficial in the field of architecture, or as an architect it is good with future scope to learn UI UX?
Just a minute. I didn't get the the exact question. What exactly says?
Should I repeat the question?
Yeah, please.
She's asking that would you suggest UI UX as a course is beneficial in the field of architecture, or as an architect it is good with future scope to learn UI UX?
Architecture, I think, is something different thing, right, from the UI UX. So if she wants to ask, whether someone is architect and they want to learn UI UX, right? Then I'll say yes, courses are important, right? Because courses, architecting is again a design thing, but UI UX is again that is design, but that is totally different. But if you want to learn, if you want to switch your career to a UI UX from the architect, then yes, courses are must, because that helps really much, because the theory part is very important, because that tells you about the tools and the findings about UI UX, right? There you can learn about a lot of things about UI and UX. So yes, course is important for UI UX. And if you're already architecture, you are means you have already met with the lot of designs, lot of design principles and guidelines, then it will be very very easy for you to switch to it. I hope I was able to give the answer. If I was not, I know you can connect with me later, and then I can give you this answer better.
Okay, sir, here comes our last question for you. As we know that balance is a must in this fast-growing environment, how do you manage the pressure and stress that comes along with work?
Yes, there is a lot of pressure, I'll say. Let's say if you are juggling with a lot of projects, right, then pressure comes. But again, the when you work in a team, then you have to don't have to think about a lot of pressures, because UI and UX designers, they always work in a team. I'll say if someone working solely in a team, as a sole designer, then he's going to have a lot of pressure, and he will not be providing the quality work. So I'll say UI and UX designer always work in a team, and whenever they get stuck, team help them very well. Let's say they are designing some kind of some new project, and they have stuck somewhere, or let's say there are lots of pressure to complete it, right? If they ask few designers that how to complete it, he will be getting a lot of help from them, because they are also designers, right? They know they know how to how to come up with some kind of design which is going to really help in the future, right? So I'll say, yeah, team is very important for the pressure. And if you have lots of work, then I'll say, ask your manager that which work is very important as a for what is the priority of particular work. So I'll say, set out the priority, and then slowly complete your work, right? So that is how you can handle your stress and pressure while working.
That's quite inspiring, sir. It is very important to manage the stress and pressure that comes along with the work. Thank you so much for providing us with some tips to cope up with it.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, sir. We will now hand over this to Paragi.
Thank you so much, sir. This has been really helpful for all of us. Thank you, Niharika and Priyanshi.